The story begins 20 years ago when a boy is seen trying to escape from many women chasing him. The boy then hides from them and feels frightened as one of the women approaches him. Fortunately, the woman does not see him and simply leaves. The scene then shifts to the past, specifically to the 1970s. At that time, a strange disease spread across the world, causing 99% of women globally to give birth to girls, while only 1% of women could give birth to boys. And no one knew the actual cause of the disease. This not only caused the male population in the world to become rare, but also led to a continuous global decrease in their numbers. Because of this, in the 2000s, the government decided to gather all the boys in the world and place them in a safe location to protect them from extinction, as well as to provide them with all comforts, and this place was called the farm. When the boys grew up and reached marriageable age, a competition was held among the women, and the winner had the right to marry one of the boys. The competition was held every 4 years with many women participating, and it was broadcasted worldwide. Soon after that, the government announced that the 4-yearly competition would soon be held, and this time, 5 young men who were ready for marriage would participate in the competition. All the women hoped to win the competition and marry the handsome men, except for a girl named Day, who strongly opposed the idea of marriage through a competition. To support herself, Day worked in a department store, and she seemed disgusted when she saw the announcement of the competition broadcasted by TV stations around the world. That day, while Day was working, she was surprised by her younger sister, May, who came to buy packaged milk. May bought the milk because its packaging featured Sun, one of the men participating in this competition. Apparently, May was also very obsessed with Sun and followed all news about him. So when she saw Sun's real-size standee displayed in the department store, May begged Day to let her take the standee home. However, Day refused and told her younger sister to leave immediately. After work, Day, feeling guilty for disappointing her younger sister who was sick, decides to make up for her mistake by bringing home Sun's standee and giving it to her. When May sees the standee, she looks very happy and thanks her older sister. May then hugs Sun's standee and takes photos with the standee, which is the exact same size as Sun. On the other hand, Day appears completely unimpressed with Sun despite his good looks. Day, who opposes the idea of marriage through a competition, hopes for a genuine and romantic love story, unlike May, who seems very obsessed with marrying Sun. Knowing that her sister will never sign up for the competition, May takes the initiative to register on behalf of Day because she wants her sister to marry and live happily before she dies. Upon hearing that, Day becomes angry and assures May that she will not die, and she will do everything possible to undergo surgery and stay alive for a long time. The scene then shifts to show Sun and the other 4 young men filming for a commercial. At that moment, a woman named Jenny is being interviewed by a group of journalists wanting to know about the competition. Jenny comments that for this competition, there are many criteria for selecting the ladies, so every woman has an equal chance. A week before the competition begins, Day, who has just returned from work, meets her best friend, Valentine, who has been waiting for her and intends to treat her to dinner. It turns out that Valentine has just gotten a new job and wants to celebrate it with her best friend. Surprised to learn that Valentine has money to treat her, Day happily agrees to go with her. Day eventually learns that Valentine will be working as staff for the competition, which surprises her because Valentine also shares the same opinion about the competition. However, Valentine reveals that she was only boasting about her opinion and says that she actually wants to get to know the young men and be close to them. So she didn't want to miss the opportunity when offered to be staff for the competition. Valentine then suggests that Day should register to participate in the competition, but Day immediately declines, saying that there are many girls participating, making her chances of winning very slim. After that, they watch the announcement of the final contestant who will participate in the competition. Apparently, the final contestant is chosen randomly from millions of girls who registered at the same time. At home, May is seen registering on behalf of Day and praying wholeheartedly for her sister to be chosen as the final contestant for the competition. Miraculously, Day's name and picture appear on the TV, signaling that Day is the final contestant selected to participate in the competition. At the same time, Day looks very shocked by what just happened, making her continue to scream in disbelief. The following day, Day still cannot believe that she, luckily, was selected to participate in the competition, yet she refuses to go. At the same time, Day, who has become famous because of this, looks annoyed as the other girls stare at her through the window and mock her, thinking she has no chance of winning the competition. Meanwhile, May tries to persuade Day to stay in the competition and pleads with her to at least get Sun's autograph, which she has dreamed of for a long time. Upon hearing that, Day reluctantly agrees to fulfill her beloved sister's wish. The next day, Day goes to participate in the competition, but she spends most of her time eating and drinking because the meals provided for the contestants are very delicious. While Day is enjoying her food, she hears the other girls discussing their problems, making plans, and hoping to win and marry the young men they are interested in, but Day remains uninterested. Soon after that, the other girls cheer as a group of girls known as the Organic Gang gracefully enters the audition venue, exuding their charm. From the other contestants, Day learns that the Organic Gang is a group of beautiful, wealthy, and smart girls who live in the family or a place where the residents have complete parents. One of the most famous among them is Chanel, a wealthy girl who is the daughter of the CEO of Eve Capital. Besides Chanel, there is also Bovie, a female idol who is also the heir to a 5-star hotel. Therefore, Chanel, Bovie, and the other girls from the Organic Gang are the strongest candidates to win the competition because of their family wealth. Shortly thereafter, a female host named Tu appears and introduces the 5 young men who will participate in the competition. As the 5 young men, or the gentlemen as they call them, are on stage to greet everyone, the girls are very excited because they can finally meet the gentleman in person. They hope to win so they can marry one of the 5 handsome men. Everyone seems very eager to start the competition and try to win, except for Day, who continues eating. Meanwhile, May and her neighbors are watching the competition, which is being broadcast live on TV stations. They are also very happy because Day managed to participate in the competition and cheer for her. But soon after, May suddenly feels unwell and collapses unconscious. On the other hand, Day suddenly feels stomach pain from eating too much and rushes to the restroom, but she accidentally enters the men's restroom. While checking her phone, Day finds a message from May reminding her about Sun's autograph. As a result, Day replies to the message saying that she might be eliminated in the first round and won't be able to meet Sun or get his autograph. However, when Day exits the restroom, she is surprised to see Sun in front of her. Meanwhile, Sun looks confused seeing a woman in the men's restroom, prompting him to quickly leave the area. Day quickly chases after him and asks for his autograph, but Sun refuses and warns Day to stop what she's doing or he will report her for stalking him. Day tries to explain that she is not a stalker, but Sun leaves anyway. While Day is still stunned by the misunderstanding, she receives a phone call from her neighbor informing her that May has suddenly fainted and has been taken to the hospital. Shocked by the news, Day decides to withdraw from the competition to visit her sister. However, Jenny, the producer of the show, refuses to accept the withdrawal due to concerns about the reputation of the competition. Jenny then tells Day that winning the competition will not only give her the chance to get a handsome husband, but also a lot of money as a prize. Additionally, the winner and her family will become part of the family, which is a privilege because the government will take care of her and her family and provide the best medical care for any sick family member, including her sister. Day is very surprised to hear this and reluctantly continues with the competition, deciding to win to save her sister's life. On the other hand, Jenny is pleased that Day decided to stay and continue the competition. She then instructs her assistant to focus on Day to attract more viewers and increase their show's ratings. Soon after, the first round of the competition begins with questions about the 5 young men, and anyone who answers incorrectly will be eliminated. All the girls gather, and the first question is about one of the unique habits of one of the 5 young men. As a result, the contestants must guess which of them has that unique habit. Day becomes nervous because she knows nothing about them. However, all the other girls know the answer and quickly select it. Upon seeing this, Day runs and chooses the same color as their choice, which turns out to be correct, allowing all the contestants move on to the next round. Because of this, Day is pleased that she chose the correct answer and finds the competition quite easy. Meanwhile, Day seems to attract quite a bit of attention as she is the only one from the lottery girls who has made it to the next round. Surprisingly, Sun remembers her and refers to her as a stalker. The final round begins, but the next question turns out to be more difficult, and the girls become confused, leading them to choose different answers. Fortunately, Day remembers her younger sister, who often watches the live streams of the young men and manages to find the correct answer. In this round, many of the other girls answer incorrectly and are immediately eliminated, leaving only a few for the next round. The final question is quite difficult, as they must guess which young man is afraid of fireworks. With only 10 seconds left, the girls hurriedly choose random answers, but Day recalls the gentleman's welcome event and notices that Sun was the only one startled by the fireworks. As a result, Day decides to choose Sun and runs just in time, but the countdown ends before she can make her choice. Day looks disappointed and sad because she has failed, and thus cannot save her sister. But unexpectedly, Jenny decides to give the eliminated girls a chance through a challenge, and one of them will be allowed to continue in the competition. Hearing this, Day is happy to have a second chance. In this round, each girl enters a room and must convince one of the young men to choose her to continue in the competition. Unexpectedly, Day is paired with Sun, but she quickly becomes disheartened because Sun has a misunderstanding about her from the incident in the restroom. Therefore, with the limited time, Day apologizes and tries to clear up the misunderstanding, begging Sun to choose her. Unfortunately, Sun breaks her heart by saying that Day does not deserve to be there and does not meet the qualifications to marry one of them. Hearing Sun's words, Day feels devastated and begins to cry. At the same time, Sun notices the necklace Day is wearing and seems to recognize it. As Day prepares to leave, Sun suddenly runs up to her and decides to choose Day, surprising everyone. On the other hand, Jenny becomes suspicious and instructs her assistant to gather all information about Day, thinking that there is a secret behind her. At the same time, Day is also shocked and cannot believe what is happening. Therefore, she asks Sun why he did that, and Sun replies that he saved her just as Day had once saved him. It turns out that Sun is the boy who ran away 20 years ago. At that time, Day had helped Sun hide from the women chasing him, which is why Sun recognizes Day as the little girl who saved him because of the necklace. Since then, Sun has never forgotten Day and hoped to meet her again someday. Soon after, Day visits May at the hospital with Valentine and tells her younger sister that she has advanced to the next round of the competition. May looks very happy and hopes that she can recover soon so that she can support her sister. May then asks Day to focus on the competition and not worry about her. As a result, Day feels relieved because her younger sister is feeling better after receiving treatment at the hospital. That night, Valentine secretly visits her mother to report all the information she has gathered about the competition. Valentine and her mother seem to be suspicious that the winners of the competition have been predetermined since the winners come from the elite class. Therefore, they try to find evidence of cheating and send Valentine to disguise herself as staff to spy on them. The next day, Chanel is seen having lunch with her family, and her mother, Quan, also invites Sun to their home. Quan, who has been trying to bring Chanel closer to Sun, then insists to Jenny that her daughter must win the competition and marry Sun, or she will stop funding the program. Upon hearing that, Jenny reassures Quan that everything is going according to plan and informs her that Day is only there to boost their show's ratings because they will eliminate her in the end. The following day, the second round of the competition begins, and the girls appear to enter the farm, where they will stay during the competition. At that place, they will learn many things about male and female relationships and face many challenges to win the competition. Each challenge is a game to earn points, with the winners determined by the highest score combined with votes from supporting viewers. Therefore, the 5 contestants with the highest scores will win the chance to date the gentleman. Upon hearing that, the girls become even more excited, each hoping to get a chance to date the gentleman. Shortly afterward, the gentleman surprised the girls by appearing before them in butler costumes. Chanel hopes that Sun will carry her suitcase, but it is Max who approaches her, looking very captivated by her beauty. Although Chanel is annoyed that Sun is ignoring her, she accepts Max's offer to carry her suitcase. Meanwhile, Sun approaches Day, who is happy to see him, and then hands her suitcase to him. Sun looks surprised by the weight of Day's suitcase and struggles as he drags it because it is too heavy. Upon arriving at her room, Day is surprised to find it large and spacious. Day then makes a video call with May to show how nice the room is. Additionally, Day promises her younger sister that she will win the competition in the first round, so May says she will always support her. Soon after, the first match is announced, and the contestants are surprised to find that it involves cooking. Each group, consisting of 4 girls, will work with one of the young men to win the match. At that moment, Day hopes to be on Sun's team, but ends up with another young man named Ahmed. Nevertheless, Day remains determined to win and works with her team. The rules of the game are that the young men will choose ingredients for the dish, and the girls must race to the finish line while wearing costumes of those ingredients. When the match starts, Ahmed falls behind the other young men because he takes too long to think. Each girl on his team quickly passes the ingredients to the next person until they reach Day, who is closest to the finish line. At that moment, everyone underestimates Day, thinking she is a weak and slow girl. However, Day surprises them by reaching the finish line just in time. Meanwhile, at the hospital, May, who is watching the match on TV, looks very happy and cheers for her sister. Unfortunately, Ahmed chooses the wrong ingredients, so his team does not score any points. Day, annoyed, warns Ahmed to focus or he will regret it if she doesn't get lunch because he failed to pick the right ingredients. In the second round, Ahmed tries to find the correct ingredients. Unexpectedly, Sun notices this and decides to help because he does not want Day to lose. Sun then signals Ahmed to pick the right ingredients, which makes Ahmed question why he is helping him. But Sun easily replies that he considers Ahmed like his older brother and wants to help him. After that, Ahmed quickly passes the ingredients to his team until they reach Day, who is already hungry and eager to win, so she immediately runs at high speed. Chanel and her friends try to block her, but Day is unstoppable and successfully reaches the finish line just in time, securing first place. Everyone seems impressed with Day, while May continues to cheer her on from the hospital. Meanwhile, the team that finished last in the competition is immediately eliminated. Since they only need 15 contestants for the next round, they eliminate one girl who scored the lowest. Everyone thinks that Chanel will win the voting due to her popularity and large number of followers. However, they're surprised when Day receives the highest scores and votes thanks to May and everyone in the hospital who supported her. Day herself can't believe she achieved the highest scores and votes because she just wanted to win the competition so she could have lunch. As a result, Day is asked to choose one of the 5 young men to go on a date with, and everyone assumes she will choose Ahmed because she was on his team. Unexpectedly, Day chooses Sun, which surprises everyone. On the other hand, Jenny is pleased to see the enthusiasm of the audience watching the competition due to Day often surprising them. But soon after, she receives a phone call from Kwan, who is upset with the results of the day's competition and warns her to fix the situation so that Sun and Chanel can be together as planned. When Jenny returns from the bathroom, she catches Valentine still in the studio, even though everyone else has been asked to leave. Valentine says she is retrieving her forgotten items, but in reality, she is secretly copying data from Jenny's phone. That evening, the gentlemen and the ladies are ready for their romantic dates. Each young man is dressed in their best attire for the girls who chose them. Soon after, Day arrives in a beautiful white dress, causing Sun to be surprised by her beauty and start to feel attracted to her. They then sit down to eat together, and at this moment, Day recalls May's advice to eat gracefully and be charming to win the young man's heart. However, Sun finds Day strange and is annoyed because he prefers Day when she is just herself. As a result, Sun, who is irritated, begins to treat Day coldly again, which frustrates Day, but she tries to control her temper to stay in the competition. When the date ends, each young man rates the girl he went out with, and most of them receive high scores. Day hopes for a high score from Sun, but unexpectedly, Sun gives her a score of 4 out of 10, which surprises everyone because he was the one who saved Day in the first round, leading everyone to believe Sun liked her. Angry, Day chases him, but Sun calls her a stalker. Day then asks why Sun gave her a low score even though she had been nice to him. Sun responds that he is annoyed because Day wasn't being herself and was being nice to him just to win the competition. Upon hearing that, Day says that Sun has no right to criticize her because he has been living comfortably and financed by the government while out there. Many people are willing to do anything, even pretending to be someone else just to get a better life. Before leaving, Day says she regrets choosing Sun. Meanwhile, Sun looks guilty and tries to apologize to Day, but she has already left. Elsewhere, Valentine is seen interviewing a young man named Gene, who reveals about a forbidden area on the farm that no one is allowed to enter, including the men living there. Not long after, Sun, who is trying to apologize to Day, is surprised to see Day having dinner with Ahmed. At that moment, Day expresses her frustration because Sun gave her a low score. Hearing this, Ahmed suggests that Day choose him for the next date and promises to give her a higher score than 4. Sun, seeing their closeness, becomes jealous and chooses to return to his room. Sun apparently has a necklace similar to Day's. When he sees the necklace, Sun is immediately reminded of the events from 20 years ago. Back then, Sun and his father were trying to escape from the farm into the forest while being pursued by guards. Unfortunately, his father was shot with a tranquilizer bullet, which caused him to collapse and be unable to continue their escape. Before being captured, his father told Sun to run as fast as possible because he wanted him to get as far away from the farm. Seeing his father being captured, Sun tried to escape alone while the guards continued to chase him. In the present, Sun wakes up panting and sweating from a nightmare he had. As Sun is about to have breakfast with his friends, Ahmed approaches him to ask if Sun likes Day because he is starting to be interested in her and wants to get closer to her. Sun is shocked by the question, but says that he is not interested in Day and lets Ahmed do whatever he wants. Meanwhile, Day, who wants to eat cereal, struggles to reach the box of cereal on the top shelf. Upon seeing that, Sun comes to get the box of cereal, but he actually takes it for himself. After pouring its contents into a bowl, Sun then places the box back on the top shelf and tells Day to get it herself if she wants to eat the cereal. At the same time, Bovie seems to be getting closer to a young man named Paper, even though she has been very infatuated with Max all this time. Elsewhere, Chanel is seen talking to her mother on the phone, and she looks sad because Quan scolded her. Apparently, Quan demands that her daughter always be the best and win the competition in order to marry Sun, without ever caring about her feelings. After hanging up the phone, Chanel starts crying because her mother never cares about her happiness. Even so, Chanel is determined to win so that she can marry Sun and maintain her family's reputation as her mother desires. When Chanel is about to have breakfast with her friends, Max suddenly approaches her and says that he wants to go on a date with her like they did the day before. However, Chanel refuses and insists that from now on, she will only choose Sun and date him. She also adds that their date yesterday was just for content to boost ratings, so Max shouldn't expect her to fall in love with him. Not only that, Chanel also blames Bovie for letting Day win yesterday, allowing her to take their place and choose Sun for the first date. Worse, Chanel even kicks Bovie out of her group and ignores her. Sometime later, the second game begins. In this game, each group consists of 3 girls and 1 young man who will drive a car to reach the final destination. However, to reach the final destination, they must pass through several predetermined checkpoints, and they have to play a dice rolling game to determine which checkpoints they will pass through. The higher the dice roll, the greater their chances of reaching the final destination. All the girls look excited and happy because they can get closer to the gentleman. But Day feels disappointed when she finds out that she is on the same team as Sun. Besides Day, the team consists of Chanel and Bovie. Even though she feels disheartened, Day is determined to continue the game for May. Before getting into the car, Chanel warns Day and Bovie not to get close to Sun and orders them to sit in the back while she sits next to Sun. When the game starts, Sun drives the car with Chanel acting as the navigator and reading the map. However, Chanel keeps making mistakes, repeatedly leading them in the wrong direction. Frustrated, they force Chanel to switch places with Day, who is much better at reading maps because she used to work as a courier in middle school. Even so, Day is too noisy, so Sun tells her to move to the back seat to be replaced by Bovie. Fortunately, Bovie managed to guide them back on the right track until they reached the first checkpoint, where they encountered Max and his team, who had arrived earlier. At this checkpoint, they had to solve a puzzle to unlock a chest containing the dice. Knowing this, Sun felt confident he could solve the puzzle, but Chanel took the initiative to solve it because she wanted to show off to Max. Both teams worked on the puzzle and managed to solve it at the same time, allowing them to continue their journey toward the final destination. Meanwhile, Valentine was seen approaching one of the hosts named Pob, taking some of his photos and then focusing on his hand and thumb, hinting that she was planning something. Back in the game, Sun's team successfully reached the next checkpoint and found another puzzle that was much harder. Luckily, they discovered there was a hidden key in the area, but before they could find it, they had to solve the puzzle to unlock the only chest there. Upon learning that, Chanel suggested they split into two groups to search for the key more efficiently. Sun agreed, and then told Chanel to go with Bovie, while he would go with Day. At that moment, Chanel looked displeased with the decision because she wanted to be closer to Sun. However, she couldn't force him, so she reluctantly went with Bovie to search for the key. As they walked through the area, Sun secretly watched Day, showing his growing affection for her, even though the girl didn't realize it. Not long after, Day noticed that Sun was staring at her, which made her feel confused. At that point, Sun awkwardly complimented her broken necklace and apologized for his behavior earlier. Sun then revealed that his life hadn't been easy either, and he had also struggled a lot. Upon hearing that, Day felt touched and apologized for accidentally running into him when they were in the bathroom. Day then revealed that she was determined to win the competition because she wanted to provide the best care for her younger sister, who has cancer, and didn't care much about whether she would marry one of the gentlemen and live in the family. Because of that, Sun encouraged Day and wished her luck in winning the competition. As Sun moved closer, Day thought that Sun was about to hug her. So, she closed her eyes in anticipation, but unexpectedly, Sun was only reaching for the key behind her. The key was inside a claw machine, stuck to a teddy bear. It turned out that there were two keys and only one chest, meaning that they had to compete with the other team, and whoever got the key first would win. Sun's team initially felt happy because their team was the only one there. But surprisingly, Ahmed and his team arrived, so they had to compete with them. However, the challenge was quite difficult because the key was stuck to a teddy bear, requiring teamwork and coordination to retrieve it. Seeing that Day and Chanel were unwilling to give in to one another, Sun reminded them about the importance of teamwork to achieve success. As a result, they decided to follow his advice, and after several attempts, they finally managed to get the key before Ahmed's team. They appeared happy and celebrated their victory, forgetting their earlier quarrels. Soon after, they returned to the car and continued their journey. At that moment, Day thanked Chanel and apologized for not trusting her. However, Chanel didn't mind because she only wanted their team to win. During the journey, their car's tire suddenly burst, so Sun intended to change the flat tire, but he didn't know how. At the same time, Max's team passed them and overtook them. As a result, Day quickly got out of the car and took the initiative to change the flat tire. Surprisingly, Day was able to change the tire in a short amount of time because she used to work at a car repair shop. Seeing that, the host wondered how many different jobs Day had done because she seemed capable of doing everything. It was revealed that Day had worked several different jobs since she was a teenager because she had to support her family and pay for May's medical treatments. In short, Day successfully repaired the tire, and they continued their journey at high speed until they reached the place with the finish line. When they arrived, Max's team was already there. Therefore, Sun and Max raced against each other to the finish line. Day then cheered for Sun to run as fast as he could, until Sun took off his shirt to run faster and managed to catch up with Max. Both reached the finish line at the same time and pressed the button, but Sun won by a fraction of a second. As a result, Sun's team celebrated their victory after securing first place in the game this time. Shortly afterward, Sun was seen sitting with Max, and he told him that he knew Max had let him win on purpose. Sun then asked for the reason, to which Max admitted that he liked Chanel and wanted her to win to make her happy, even though she didn't love him. Moved by Max's confession, Sun then said that he also wanted Day to win because she had suffered a lot in her life. Therefore, he wanted Day to be able to take care of her younger sister. At the same time, Day and Chanel were also seen sitting together. In that moment, Chanel said it would be nice if she could get to know Day outside of this setting. Soon after, they conducted a viewer vote, but this time the producers changed the rules, allowing the judges to decide. Naturally, they all chose Chanel because they were afraid of her mother. Since she came in first place, Chanel was asked to choose one of the gentlemen to go on a date with. Chanel took the opportunity to choose Sun, who reluctantly agreed to date her. When it was Day's turn, she had no choice but to choose Ahmed, who appeared happy because he genuinely liked her. As a result, Ahmed promised that he would give Day a high score on their date later that night. That night, Day had a special date because she ranked first in the viewer vote. Day and Almond then went to a place where it was just the two of them. At that time, Day seemed happy because Almond treated her like a princess, so she felt pleased with his attention, and they ate together. During their dinner, Day finished all her food and even happily accepted food from Almond because she still felt hungry. The two of them then danced, spent a joyful time together, and grew closer. At that moment, Day's necklace suddenly fell off, and Almond, seeing this, picked it up. He returned the necklace to Day while saying that Sun had a similar necklace. Upon hearing that, Day was immediately surprised and remembered the boy she had saved when she was a child. That night, when everyone was asleep, Valentine used the thumbprint photo she had taken of Pob to create a fingerprint. She then snuck into a restricted area of the farm and used a fingerprint to enter a secret room. Inside, Valentine found a set of computers and began searching through files until she found one with a name and date from 28 years ago. Valentine looked shocked yet relieved when she finally found the file. The scene then transitioned to the past, showing Valentine's mother, Nawat, who had just given birth to a baby boy. However, the government forcibly took the baby boy from Nawat and made her believe that she had given birth to a baby girl who died shortly after birth. Not only that, but they also locked Nawat in a mental hospital and kept giving her drugs to make her forget what had happened. However, Nawat turned out to be smarter than them, as she intentionally threw away the pills they gave her instead of taking them, in order to keep her sanity. Additionally, Nawat knew that her son was at the farm, so she asked her daughter, Valentine, to disguise herself as a staff member in the competition and find him. In the present, Valentine finally discovered that her older brother was Almond, leaving her shocked by what she had just learned. But at the same time, she heard footsteps nearby, so she quickly turned off the computer and fled. Unfortunately, Valentine accidentally dropped her ID card without realizing it. Soon after, a guard caught her and asked what she was doing in the restricted area. Valentine appeared nervous as she might get caught. But fortunately, Almond suddenly appeared and told the guard that he was showing her around, hoping to get inspiration for the next game. The guard, trusting Almond's words, politely asked them to leave and stay away from the restricted area. Shortly afterward, Valentine thanked Almond for his help. At that moment, Valentine wanted to reveal the truth to him, but she feared Almond wouldn't believe her, so she only said that she wanted to record more of Almond and interview him. The next day, Day, remembering Almond's words about Sun, went to see Sun to confirm and asked him about it. Day was surprised when she saw Sun wearing a necklace that was indeed the other half of her necklace. Sun then connected the necklaces and put his necklace on Day, saying that he was happy that she finally remembered him. At the same time, Day was overjoyed and hugged Sun. In a flashback, it was revealed that when Day saved Sun back then, she thought Sun was a little girl because of his long hair. Therefore, Day took Sun home, cared for him, fed him, played with him, and gave him half of her necklace so that Sun would always remember her. The next day, when Day was about to visit Sun with food, she was shocked to find that her house had been destroyed, and Sun was nowhere to be found. From that moment on, Day never saw or heard about Sun again. In the present, Sun explained that the government had found him and returned him to the farm, where he used to live with his father. Sun then told her about the hardships and suffering he had endured at the farm, which was far from what people outside the farm, like Day, had imagined. Furthermore, since it was a holiday, Day invited Sun to sneak out of the farm. On the other hand, Jenny discovered that Valentine had secretly entered the restricted area because she found her ID card that Valentine had accidentally left behind there. Jenny then asked her what she was doing in that place. At that moment, Valentine tried to lie, but Jenny didn't believe her and threatened to report her to the police and fire her. Frightened, Valentine was forced to reveal the truth that Almond was her older brother. Valentine explained that 28 years ago, the government kidnapped Almond from their mother and then locked her in a mental hospital, forcing her to take medications that caused her to hallucinate and forget about the baby boy she had just given birth to. Valentine then said that her mother only wanted to meet Almond, her beloved son, who had been forcibly taken from her. Jenny was touched by Valentine's and her mother's story, and indirectly, she could understand her mother's feelings because she was currently pregnant with a baby boy. Jenny felt very anxious about her own son's fate, since she would soon have to hand him over to the government after giving birth. Jenny then decided to let Valentine continue working and told her to keep everything a secret. Additionally, Jenny warned Valentine not to enter the restricted area again, because if she insisted on going there, Jenny wouldn't be able to protect her anymore. That night, Day was waiting for Sun at the agreed meeting spot. Surprisingly, Sun arrived wearing a wig and disguising himself as a girl so no one would recognize him. After that, they tried to avoid being watched by the guards and security cameras while sneaking through the darkness. Not long after, they were startled by the appearance of a ghostly woman who turned out to be Paper in disguise. Paper, who also wanted to sneak out, asked Sun and Day to take him along because he had never seen the outside world. Sun initially refused and told Paper to go back to his room, but Paper threatened to expose their closeness, so Sun and Day reluctantly agreed to take Paper with them. Along the way, they walked through the forest until they reached a road where a car often used for filming commercials was parked. Sun and Paper were excited to find the car, and they quickly got in and sped off, successfully escaping. Meanwhile, Valentine was with Almond, who asked her to record him. At that moment, Valentine asked Almond about his family and whether he missed them. Almond replied that he didn't miss his family and explained that the gentlemen were his family and the farm was his home. Additionally, Almond understood why his mother had given him to the government and didn't resent his mother for it. Upon hearing his explanation, Valentine turned off the camera and asked Almond what he would think if his mother hadn't given him up voluntarily. But instead, he had been forcibly taken from his mother. Almond responded that he didn't really care about that because he was happy living with the gentleman at the farm. On the other hand, Day and the others finally arrived in the city, so Paper decided to let Day and Sun go off together while he embarked on his own adventure. Before leaving, Paper jokingly asked if they were really dating far away from the cameras of the show. Upon hearing that, Sun and Day immediately became nervous and said that they were just friends having fun. However, it was obvious that they were lying because, in reality, they were truly interested in each other. In the car, the atmosphere became awkward since Paper assumed that they were really dating. As a result, Day tried to break the awkwardness by playing music, but strangely, every song that played was about love and romantic relationships, making things even more uncomfortable. Day then took Sun to her favorite roadside food stall, where the owner seemed surprised to see her because she was now famous. Realizing this, Day quickly left before people could gather around her. Day then went to Sun, who happily tried various street snacks for the first time. However, some girls were watching them from a distance, suspicious of his disguise. With no other choice, Day quickly took Sun away before they could figure out his true identity. She then brought Sun to her house. When her younger sister opened the door and saw Sun, she couldn't believe her eyes and fainted from shock. Meanwhile, Paper met a man named Chun, who was part of City Ground. Curious, Paper asked him about City Ground, but Chun instead asked Paper to tell him what he knew about City Ground. Elsewhere, May, who had woken up, was overjoyed because she finally got to meet her idol in person. May then told Sun that she had admired him for a long time. As a result, she shared a story about how Day had a best friend who got lost when they were children, and Day was heartbroken and often cried when her friend disappeared without a trace. Upon hearing that, Sun was touched by her words and realized that he was the person May was talking about. Day then took Sun for a walk around the city and said that if she won the competition, she would choose Sun so they could live together. However, Sun said that the competition was a scam and all the results had been rigged from the start. Additionally, Sun mentioned that they could never be together, even if they loved each other. Day was shocked to hear this and felt disheartened, but she refused to give up. While Sun and Day reminisced about their past by visiting the place they once lived together as children, Chanel and Max were spending time drinking and talking about their lives. Max then spoke about Sun, how he was always treated as the main star, while he and the other young men were only considered backups. Elsewhere, Paper told Chun about City Ground as a group that opposed the farm and the government until they were wiped out. Chun did not deny it and revealed that the government kidnapped children from their families and sent their mothers to mental hospitals, giving them drugs to make them forget about their sons. Chun also told Paper that he had managed to escape from the farm and tried to help the young men escape and return to their families but failed. Paper was stunned to learn this truth because all this time, he had thought that his mother had willingly abandoned him or handed him over to the farm. However, Chun said that not all mothers gave up their sons willingly. as he knew that many of them continued to fight, doing everything they could to free their sons from the farm so they could live their lives as they wished. On the other hand, Sun revealed today that in the previous competition, the potential contestants had to pay a large bribe to participate. Sun knew this because he often visited Chanel's house and accidentally overheard a conversation between Quan and the producer. Sun then said that he initially wanted to give up and accept his fate. However, after meeting Day, he decided to keep fighting so that he could live the life he truly wanted. In that romantic moment, Sun moved closer to Day, intending to kiss her. But unexpectedly, fireworks suddenly exploded near them, and the loud sound terrified Sun. It turns out that Sun has a phobia of fireworks because when he was a child, he witnessed his father being captured by guards who used fireworks to locate him. Seeing Sun trembling in fear, Day took the initiative to cover his ears and then kissed him to calm him down. In short, they decided to return to the farm before dawn and reunite with Paper. When they arrived in the forest, Day said that she didn't want to go back and urged Sun and Paper to run away. However, Sun and Paper refused to leave their friends behind. Therefore, they decided to expose the truth and escape together, aiming to destroy the system of the farm. Paper then revealed to them that Shun had mentioned a city ground spy inside the farm who would help them. Day was shocked to learn that the spy was none other than her best friend, Valentine. Thus, they hurried to meet her, who was very happy that they had also learned the truth and were willing to help her. The four of them decided to work together to reveal the truth and reunite the children with their families. However, unbeknownst to them, someone was secretly listening to their conversation. Some time later, the third game began. This time, the contestants would play a game of Hansel and Gretel, where three of them would take on the role of the evil witches, and the others would play the innocent villagers. Each villager had to identify and capture the witches before they were eliminated, or they would lose the game and be disqualified from the competition. The villagers could also win if they managed to complete all the missions and gather the ingredients they would use to fight the witches. However, if the witches devoured them first, they would all be declared losers. After this explanation, the game began, and none of the players knew each other's identities. The scene then shifted to a few hours earlier when Day and the others were planning with Valentine. At that time, Valentine revealed that the winner of the third game would receive a special prize that they could use as evidence. Upon learning that Day, Sun, and Paper were determined to make Chanel the winner so that they could obtain that evidence. Back in the game, Day, who was assigned the role of a villager, met Sun and Paper, who also happened to be villagers. At the same time, one of the witches, whose face was hidden, took advantage of a girl walking alone and successfully eliminated her from the competition. When they found the girl's body, they held a meeting to identify the witch. At that moment, they tried to figure it out, but no one knew who the person was. As a result, they suspected a girl who was close to the victim and voted her out of the game, only to discover that she was innocent. This left them more confused than before, and everyone became suspicious of one another. Shortly after, the second round began, and they learned that Chanel was given the role of Gretel, the villager who knows the identities of all the witches. Upon learning that, Sun tried to approach Chanel, but Max, who had a crush on her, quickly grabbed Chanel's arm, not wanting to let her go with Sun. To break up their argument, Day suggested they all go together to avoid the witches. Fortunately, they managed to complete a mission and obtained a sword to fight the witches. Unexpectedly, one of the witches threw a smoke bomb to separate them, which resulted in Day ending up with Almond. Despite this, they successfully completed a mission together. While walking, Day and Almond discovered the body of a girl lying on the ground and realized that one of the witches had eliminated her. They then held a meeting to try to identify the witch. Jean, acting like a detective, suspected Day and claimed that he saw her attack the girl. Paper tried to defend Day, but Max accused him of being the witch. As a result, Sun scolded Max for complicating the situation, while Almond continued to defend Day, pointing out that Jean was the witch because he had a habit of touching his nose when he lied. Upon learning that, everyone voted to eliminate him, and it turned out that Jean was indeed a witch. After they successfully identified him, only 2 witches remained. They continued playing for a long time and eventually discovered the identity of another witch. Now, only one witch was left, and the game was nearing its end. Therefore, they held another meeting, suspecting either Bovie or Max of being the witch. At that moment, Chanel, trusting her best friend more, convinced them to eliminate Max, who turned out to be innocent since he was a villager. As a result, they realized that Bovie was the only remaining witch. Soon after, the final round began, with Bovie, the witch, attempting to eliminate the 6 remaining villagers. Chanel worked to complete the last mission to defeat the witch, who had already eliminated Paper and Sun from the game. After that, Bovie tried to approach Chanel to eliminate her, but surprisingly, Day suddenly appeared and blocked her. Day then decided to sacrifice herself to give Chanel time to solve the puzzle. She tried to stop her, but Bovie ultimately eliminated Day, leaving only 3 contestants still standing. Fortunately, Chanel managed to solve the puzzle just in time, and Bovie guessed the wrong person as Gretel, which led the villagers' team to be declared the winners. After the game, Chanel approached Bovie and asked why she hadn't eliminated her to win the game and marry Max. Bovie replied that she had admired Max for a long time, but valued their friendship more. Additionally, Bovie emphasized that she could never choose Max over Chanel, who was her best friend, even if it meant giving up her own happiness. Bovie also asked Chanel to follow her heart because she only wanted to see Chanel happy. As they embraced, Chanel couldn't hold back her tears, touched by her friend's loyalty, realizing that she still cared for her and loved her. Soon after, the 3 contestants with the lowest scores were eliminated from the competition, while Chanel secured the top rank with the highest score. Consequently, Chanel was asked to choose a young man for a date. She initially approached Max and apologized for not trusting him and accusing him of being a witch. Max appeared pleased with her words, thinking that Chanel would choose him. But surprisingly, Chanel chose Sun because she knew that Bovie loved Max and she didn't want to hurt her feelings. Shortly afterward, Day secretly met with Valentine, but Jenny caught them and became suspicious. Jenny then warned Day that if she caused any trouble, she would be disqualified from the competition, which would mean she wouldn't be able to save her younger sister's life. That night, while they were gathered to plan their next steps, they were startled by the appearance of Ahmed, who revealed that he had overheard their conversation and knew everything. Eventually, Ahmed tried to assure them that he would help them, even if it meant leaving the farm. Upon hearing this, Paper and the others seemed pleased that Ahmed was on their side. But Sun appeared to still be suspicious of him because he knew Ahmed as someone who strongly upheld the system at the farm and was most dedicated to its rules and lifestyle. While they were alone, Ahmed revealed that he knew about Day saving Sun when he was a child. Although Ahmed promised to keep it a secret, Sun remained uneasy because Ahmed usually opposed them when they attempted to do something against the farm's rules. Meanwhile, Chanel was seen approaching Max and informing him that Bovie liked him. Therefore, she asked Max to give Bovie a chance. Unfortunately, Max refused and said that he liked Chanel and would continue to try to win her heart. Chanel, confused by his words, suddenly felt embarrassed, pushed him away, and left. The next day, Chanel invited Sun to her house to meet her family. During this moment, Chanel appeared unhappy because she didn't love Sun, but felt obligated to follow her mother's wishes. Despite this, Chanel tried to build a connection with Sun, and their closeness led the audience to believe they were a perfect couple. At the same time, May, who was watching the show with her neighbors, looked annoyed because she had always thought Sun liked Day. Meanwhile, Sun had secretly set up a recording device to capture his conversation with Quan, which could later be used as evidence. Sun deliberately told Quan that he loved Chanel and wanted to marry her, but he was concerned that Chanel might fail in the competition. Upon hearing this, Quan assured Sun that her company funded the competition and guaranteed her daughter would win even if she continued to fail. Day and the others, who were listening to their conversation, immediately took notes on everything Quan said. They felt very pleased because they finally had evidence to reveal the truth behind the farm's conspiracy. As they were preparing to publish the evidence, they suddenly lost internet and phone connections. At the same time, the guards burst in and arrested them. When Sun returned to the farm, he found Jenny waiting for him and realized that they had all been discovered. Jenny then took the recording and revealed that she had been spying on Valentine and knew about their plans. Jenny said that she would handle the situation and make arrangements for the competition to continue as planned until the end. However, Jenny fired Valentine and arrested her for being involved with city ground and plotting against the farm. Soon after, Jenny was seen visiting children playing in the park. A young boy noticed her sadness and gave her candy to cheer her up. Touched by the boy's kindness, Jenny felt guilty about her actions because she knew that these children had been forcibly taken from their mothers. And this could happen to her in the future, since she was currently pregnant with a baby boy. Meanwhile, Day looked sad because their plan had failed, but Sun told her not to lose hope. Sun then revealed that he had found a suspicious flash drive hidden by Quan in her desk drawer. Therefore, he took the flash drive and secretly gave it to Valentine without Jenny's knowledge. On the other hand, Valentine managed to defeat the guards who had captured her and disguised herself in their uniforms. With the flash drive she got from Sun, Valentine successfully infiltrated the forbidden area and found several women whose sons had been kidnapped. Additionally, they were imprisoned there and mentally tortured to make them forget their sons. Driven to expose the truth, Valentine began recording everything happening there to expose the crimes committed by those behind the farm. But unfortunately, Valentine was discovered by a guard who then sounded the alarm and chased her until they cornered her on a bridge. Valentine tried to escape, but she was shot and fell into the water. The following day, Quan called Day to her house and showed her a video of May in one of the VIP rooms of the most prestigious hospital in the country. Quan informed Day that May would receive the best care at the hospital if she complied with her orders to yield to Chanel in the competition. However, if Day refused, she would not hesitate to eliminate May. Worried about May's safety, Day returned to the farm and told Sun everything. Day also mentioned that she could not reach Valentine and apologized for not being able to continue with the plan or help him escape. Upon hearing that, Sun reassured her that Day's and May's safety was the most important thing. Soon after, May underwent surgery, and Day anxiously waited outside the operating room. When the doctor finally came out, she assured Day that the operation went smoothly, but Day stayed by May's side until she woke up. When May finally woke up, the first thing she said was why Day did not choose Sun as her date for the final round, even though they both liked each other. Day, unable to express everything to her beloved sister, hugged May tightly and apologized for not being able to fulfill her dreams. A few days later, Day returned to the competition and had decided to choose Almond as her date because she feared that Quan would do something harmful to May if she did not comply. They then visited the family, the only place where children could stay and live happily with their fathers and mothers. Upon arrival, Day looked sad because things were not going as planned. Almond, noticing Day's sadness, then said that he knew Day loved Sun and that Sun loved her too. But unexpectedly, Almond confessed his feelings to Day and said that he had fallen in love with her since the first time he saw her. Almond then held Day's hand and asked her to give him a chance. He also promised to take care of Day and her younger sister for the rest of his life. Upon hearing that, Day felt a bit relieved and grateful that she chose Almond because he had always been kind to her and understood her situation, making her feel comfortable by his side. Meanwhile, Quan informed Jenny that her plan was going as desired, and the show was running smoothly, gaining a lot of viewership. But soon after, Quan brought up Jenny's pregnancy, which immediately made her very worried that Quan might interfere in her life. One night after filming, Day met with Sun and they went for a walk. At that moment, Sun said that he missed her a lot. Touched by his words, Day also admitted that she missed him too and hoped they could be together again. Unbeknownst to them, Chanel was watching them from afar and felt unhappy about their closeness. Shortly thereafter, Chanel went outside, but Max suddenly appeared from behind, intending to surprise her. Unfortunately, thinking that Max was a thief, Chanel reacted by hitting him. Realizing that she had mistaken Max for a thief, Chanel apologized and gave him a tissue. They then talked, where Max said that he still loved Chanel and wanted to be with her. Therefore, he asked Chanel to choose him in the final round so they could marry and live together. Although moved by his words, Chanel made it clear to Max that she had to choose Sun because she needed to follow her mother's orders to gain her mother's approval. Upon learning that, Max, feeling sympathetic toward Chanel, hugged her to comfort her. In the hospital, May, who was sleeping, suddenly woke up upon hearing someone approaching. May initially felt scared, but then she realized that Valentine had survived and had come to save her. Soon after, someone knocked on Day's room door. When she opened it, she found a cereal box with a phone inside. Day then answered the video call from the phone and saw Valentine, who had survived the attack. Valentine apologized for the delay and informed Day and the others that they would carry out their plan on the last day of the competition. Sometime later, the final round of the competition arrived, with the audience eagerly anticipating who would win and marry their ideal young man. The host then introduced the girls who had made it to the final round, starting with Chanel, the heir to Eve Capital. Many people cheered for her because Chanel came from a wealthy family, was very popular due to her beauty, and was liked by many. When it was Day's turn, she remembered May's words, apologizing for always causing trouble and being a burden to her. May also apologized for Day not being able to choose the young man she loved because of her. But now, May reassured her sister that she was in a safe place and urged Day to stop worrying about her. May also advised Day to follow her heart and choose the person she loved. In the present, Day stepped onto the stage with confidence, determined to fulfill her dream and be with the person she loved. At the same time, Valentine seemed to have executed her plan and sent a message to Sun, assuring him that everything was going well. The final round began, with the first challenge being to retrieve a bouquet of flowers that would open the way to the next stage. Everyone thought Chanel would win as it was set up for her to succeed. However, Day surprised them by jumping high and successfully grabbing the bouquet. As a result, Day quickly ran to the designated area but had to choose the correct door to continue. Day confidently picked a door, but unfortunately, she fell into a trap and ended up in a pool filled with balls. Chanel then came and chose the correct door, successfully reaching the next room, while Bovie followed behind her. While Chanel and Bovie were unstoppable in reaching the final door, Day repeatedly ended up with the wrong doors and fell into the ball pit. At the same time, Sun and his friends began executing their plan, as Valentine had instructed them to connect the flash drive she had hidden in a lunchbox to the main computer at the farm so she could hack their system. Soon after, Sun and his friends pretended to go to the restroom and sneaked into the control room to connect the flash drive to the main computer as instructed by Valentine. On the other hand, the girls had reached the next stage where they had to climb a wall. One of the girls was a rock-climbing athlete and easily ascended, impressing everyone with her skill. However, the game became more challenging than it appeared as boxes began to fall, causing her to fall. Soon after that, Day came and began competing with Chanel to see who could climb first. Both were determined to win, and everyone was impressed by their perseverance. Meanwhile, Sun and his friends succeeded in their mission to connect the flash drive to a laptop belonging to the farm. Upon learning this, Valentine appeared excited because she was ready to complete their plan and reveal everything. But unexpectedly, Jenny suddenly appeared behind her, and it was revealed that Amon had been spying for her because he didn't want them to leave the farm. At the same time, Day and Chanel managed to reach the final stage of the game, and everyone anxiously awaited to see who would win the last challenge. Unexpectedly, the contestants were required to sign a marriage contract to win the competition and the groom. As a result, the two girls raced towards the paper, but the path they had to traverse was quite slippery, and the staff began spraying water at them to slow them down. At that moment, Chanel slipped and fell, while Day remained determined to reach the finish line. The audience appeared to support Day and cheered for her as she got closer to winning. But unfortunately, the ground beneath Day suddenly shook, causing her to fall and return to the starting point. Upon seeing that, Chanel took advantage of the opportunity to walk to the finish line, ultimately winning the competition and taking first place. Although the audience was disappointed because they wanted Day to win, Kwon did not care at all because she had achieved her goal and gained many benefits from the competition. Shortly afterward, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. The young men stood in front of the girls who had made it to the final round. At this decisive moment, the girls would choose one of the young men to marry, starting with Chanel, who had the first pick because she won the competition. Everyone thought Chanel would choose Sun, and as she approached him, Day felt sad because she loved Sun and wanted to marry him. However, Chanel surprised everyone by apologizing to Sun and saying that she decided to follow her heart. Chanel then walked over to Max and chose him as her husband. As a result, Max was stunned and still couldn't believe that Chanel chose him over Sun. Consequently, Max happily agreed to marry Chanel and embraced her joyfully. Next was Day's turn, since she was in second place. She then ran towards Sun and stood in front of him. However, before making her choice, Day decided to reveal the truth to everyone. Day went to the audience and informed them that the farm was not as they thought. Day began to broadcast a video showing the women who were imprisoned and mentally tortured by the government because they refused to surrender their sons to the farm. The entire audience appeared very shocked by what they saw, as did the ladies and the gentlemen who had never known the truth. Kwan, not wanting her reputation to be destroyed, called Jenny to stop the broadcast, but she ignored the call. Jenny had apparently decided to rectify her mistake and let the truth be known to everyone in order to save her unborn son. After finishing her speech, Day said that she had decided to follow her heart and choose the man she loved. Day then approached Sun and asked him to marry her. As a result, Sun happily agreed to marry Day, but then they heard the sound of fireworks. Because of this, Day thought Sun would be scared and covered his ears to reassure him. However, Sun surprised her by showing that he no longer felt afraid as long as Day was by his side. They then embraced happily, still feeling incredulous that they were finally together. At the same time, the angry audience started a riot after learning the truth. They began fighting with the guards, causing Day and the others to flee before the guards could catch them. They rushed to the parking area where Valentine was already waiting for them. They quickly got into the car, but Amon refused to leave because he felt ashamed for betraying them. As a result, Valentine said that she knew about his actions because Jenny had informed her. Nonetheless, Valentine still wanted Amon to come with them. Since Amon was insistent on staying at the farm, Valentine revealed to him that she was his younger sister. Valentine then asked Amon to come with her because their mother missed him very much and wanted to see him. Upon learning that, Amon was very surprised because he had never imagined that his mother had not abandoned him as he had always thought. Despite this, Amon could not leave the farm, which he had come to consider his home. Crying, Amon told Valentine that he did not want to leave the farm, so they would have to go without him. Valentine continued to try to persuade him, but Amon remained steadfast in his decision. As a result, she could not hold back her tears as they had to leave Amon behind, even though she had fought hard to find Amon and bring him home to their mother. On the other hand, Jenny decided to leave the farm for the sake of the baby boy she was carrying. She then threw her phone into the trash and got into the car with her partner, fleeing to a safe place. Meanwhile, when Chanel arrived home, Kwan slapped her for not following her orders and choosing Max. Surprisingly, Chanel asserted to her mother that she would no longer obey her and would do whatever she believed was right by marrying the man she loved. Chanel then left her mother and went to see her father, who supported her decision and praised her for having the courage to stand up to her mother. The following days, Sun and Day, who were in the city ground hideout, were seen watching the news on television about the public protests against the farm. The news also mentioned that Sun, Day, and Paper were now fugitives. At that moment, Sun told Day that no matter what happens to them in the future, he did not regret his decision to live together with her. As they were kissing, May suddenly arrived and interrupted them, but they now looked very happy because they would be living together. On the other hand, Valentine still felt sad because she failed to fulfill her mother's wish to bring Amon home. However, her mother did not mind at all because Valentine was also her precious daughter. Soon after, Jenny and her partner appeared to have arrived at the city ground hideout and decided to stay there and raise their son with love. Meanwhile, Paper also stayed there and chose to live together with Chun. For years later, Sun and Day had a very handsome son. They decided to care for and raise their son with love and were determined to protect him from the farm. Moral lesson from the story: if you choose your friends over winning a game, you might end up with the prize of a true friend. And remember, sometimes it's better to follow your heart than to win a slippery race in a water park.